The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining us for today's webinar. Just a couple of minutes more and then we will be live. Let's wait for a couple of more audience. We'll start sharply.
Okay.
Okay, we are starting the webinar. For all those who have recently joined, welcome to the webinar. My name is Ansh Agarwal. I am Assistant Manager Marketing, Ameyo. Ameyo is one of the leading customer experience solution providers in India. So today we are presenting the role of artificial intelligence in building seamless customer experience. Presented by Karan Priyanku Sharma, Head of CRM and Services Head at Grofers, and Prince Singh, our CTO at Ameyo. So just to lay down some ground rules, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the chat box. But we will have a Q&A session at the end of the session as well. So this will give us a considerable time to answer your questions in real time as well as at the end of the session. So coming back to the webinar, this webinar will be primarily talking about the artificial intelligence and how customer experience can be leveraged using artificial intelligence. So there's a very primary thought that came to us. So the first step in exceeding your customer expectations is knowing those expectations. So this primarily said by Royal H. Williams, who is a customer experience evangelist in USA.
Yes.
Okay, now coming to the agenda of this webinar, we will be talking about the state of customer experience and customer expectations. In recent times, it has become very critical to understand and meet the customer expectations. And this can be done through automation. So how AI, where does AI comes in redefining the customer experience and customer service. Then comes the history and recent advancements in AI. So over the years, it has become imperative that what has led to the need of an AI in the customer experience sector. Now comes the real life use cases in terms of the real retail sector, in the e-commerce sector, or in the BFSI sector, where customer experience has become next thing, and artificial intelligence has will considerable help in solving these use cases. Now comes the challenges. After that, it's the challenges. What challenges these sectors are facing? So over to Karan. Karan, you can take over this session.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ansh. First of all, let me welcome each one of you and thank you also for honoring me with the opportunity to share first my learning and also my experiences using and also suggesting usage of artificial intelligence towards customer experience. Let me be very honest with you. I'm still learning how to reach the ultimate customer experience. However, still happy to learn, and share the learning accumulated over the years, spanning practically about 12 years now of rich experience, which range from insurance, banking, contact center solution, telecom, and obviously now hyperlocal e-commerce with grocers. For the larger audience, let me just tell you, before I delve further, would request each one of you, as rightly said by Ansh, I'd be very eager to know your questions and suggestions that you guys have. I promise to take it up personally post this session. Additionally, to share also in strengthening mine and my esteemed speaker, Prince, towards the belief and towards the greater role of achieving the ultimate balance primarily between human emotions and artificial intelligence. Yeah. I'll pass on now to Prince, who is a think tank, by the way, just to let you guys know, and one of the most creative pioneers that I've come across in development and collaboration of AI in customer service industry. He would have some valuable inputs and also his introduction. Thanks, Prince. Over to you.
Thanks, Karan. Thanks for the nice introduction. So, so we have been working over for contact center at Drishti, for contact center solutions at Drishti for a very long time now. It's been since 2003. I have been associated with Drishti for the past little more than 12 years now, and primarily looking into product development, and for the past some time focusing at product management. And so I love to solve problems sitting with the customers, and Karan is one of them. And so we have discussed, brainstormed on the customer service problems that are there, and we try to solve them. Yes, that's about it.
Perfect. I think. Thanks, Prince. I'll just quickly, before we even start, I think I'll just set the agenda so that the larger audience gets to know it. My agenda for today is to bring forward my dream, number one, of creating the best customer service team at my current workplace at Grofers and also beyond. So just to let the audience know, how do we get there is the question. And also believe that is important towards the ultimate goal of wowing the customer experience. We're talking about customer service, which is probably now a thing of the past. People are talking about customer experience. How do we build this up? While I do so, I'll be glad to know the elements of human understanding. AI is still there. AI is yet learning from our human intelligence that we have, or the human emotions that we bring in. Words like empathy, AI is still learning about it. So I think the human race has a significant head start to start on a lighter note, because I think artificial intelligence is yet to understand human emotion. Having said so, that's going to be my primary agenda. I'm also going to talk about the brand interaction that presents multiple interaction channels and maintaining customer trust in everything that we do. There are multiple elements that we have evolved currently. If you look around any customer experience team right now, we have chats, we have emails, we have social media channels. We have blog sites where we're going ahead. We have different SMSs, which has been customized, and artificial intelligence has a big role to play in it. We also value the interaction. Now, these are not things that I'm just saying it. These are research which primarily have given us the customer primarily comes through these channels, and customer need personal engagement during the conversation that they have. Primarily, it can be listed in three main objectives. One is to, when a customer comes in, they want to be listened, they need to be heard. They strive to create that so-called customer memories when you speak with a customer CRE, or when you chat with his customer care executive, and so on. And in short, and build a culture which obviously makes the end user or a customer stick to a company, right? So that's primarily going to be the objective. Dwelling a little further, and let me quote something that I read a few days back from, and let me quote it from Nick Francis, where a lot of discussion was happening, in particular with artificial intelligence and how important the technology is as of today. And there's no escaping. I mean, that it'll change the way work is done in the future. But as with the hype around new technology, or there's a lot of misinformation floating about AI. We've talked to experts in the space, read hundreds of articles. Probably each one of you, esteemed guests over here, attending this, webinar, must have read somewhere AI and its role, and how we can establish best practices for customer support based on what we have learned. This is how business owners would like to think. In simple, just so that we have a fair understanding, and just to give a brief introduction to AI, whereas human and animal kind of exhibits what scientists refer to as natural intelligence, artificial intelligence is the ability to machine human with natural reasoning, which, by the way, is still a far-fetched dream. But as you can imagine, machines are capable of wide spectrum of intelligence, and therein lies much of the misinformation. So winning a game of probably a checker, and I think the last Times of India had one article where this gentleman was playing table tennis with a machine. So that's the kind of beauty that we're talking about. Winning a game of checkers is quite different from diagnosing a depression from a speech pattern of an individual, if you understand what I'm saying, right? But both are a result of artificial intelligence, a different end of spectrum per se. Artificial intelligence, the early stages, probably stirs excitement during the 1960s or probably somewhere around there. Machine learning came after that with around 1900 to 1990. The way machine learning flourished bases our inputs. And now comes the 2010 onwards, where deep learning, deep breakthrough drive of AI boom has started talking, where people across panels have spoken about it, be it people like Facebook founder or probably Elon Musk from they've all said, I mean, it's there, it's inevitable. These artificial intelligence will be the future. But here comes one larger question for the younger lot, where the future of job, as they say by research, by 2027, working side by side with robot, is not far-fetched dream. There's a lot of talk these days about bleak future of employment. Claims the robot will steal all our jobs in common places. I beg to differ over here. Because I think you, as a service provider, came in. I think the initial stages when growth was just getting built brick by brick, and people across board were thinking, how can we go ahead and bring in the customer experience to the next level? And mind you, we were talking about using small Nokia phones and speaking with the customer. I would personally sit and look into the overall call history, all the numbers that were dialed, and then accumulate that. So that was then, and then Ameyo came in, and we kind of realized the fact that we needed a system or a tool where basis the customer's input that the customer has when we enter IVR Intel, we can service it, we can create channels, and those channels can have a dedicated specific set of CREs who can answer those queries much faster, or probably have better equipped to handle those queries. Those things came into play. I think brick by brick, that's how AI is built at a very grassroots level. And just to further dwell on the customer experience and how can we go ahead and take it further, I think the research clearly states that 87% of customers don't like to repeat themselves. So does AI solve the problem? To a certain extent, yes. Let me, in fact, give you an example to the large audience. So when you have an issue, let's say, for example, let me talk about my industry as of now. When you are seeking to know or understand about where exactly is the order, what do? You want to know about the status of the order. You want somebody to address that concern because the anxiety level is very high. This is where the chat bots, so-called, can come in, because they can go ahead and probably, have some kind of interaction on the background where they hit my API and find out exactly what is the is it en route, or is it those information without speaking with a customer CRE or chatting real time, and that's where the chatbots comes in, because they don't they help you to get that information faster in case it is not served or it's not answered, then you have a human interaction coming in. So primarily 87%, as per the Aberdeen research, customers don't like to repeat themselves. That's where I think chatbots kind of help, and even the IVR help from a telecom or a IVR point of view. Next 70% is where customers prefer having a self-service option. I'll talk about myself. I like to go ahead and use my banking apps that you have on your phone, and half of things I can do. I can transfer money to my mom. I can transfer to my wife. I can transfer to anybody, whoever I've taken some cash, and plus it also gives me the opportunity to pay for my debts. I think those kind of feasibility down the lane, I think my parents would not have it. They would stand in the queues, they would wait for the chance, and then they would go ahead and pay up. I think small elements like this is what makes customer thinks brand needs to put more effort in providing consistent customer experience. I strongly believe that. I think I'm still learning. It's a day in, day out research and a day in, day out try that we keep on doing. Not that we can be perfect in everything, and I think that's where artificial intelligence is learning from us, taking those inputs from different customer channels and accumulating that in consolidation and finding out what is the right way of servicing a customer. But having said so, I don't think we're far off from where artificial intelligence can come in and help ease off the kind of experiences that we can go ahead and give to a customer. Yeah. Ansh, if you could go to the next slide, let me also dwell a little further. Now, the next slide, how artificial intelligence redefines customer service. As I rightly said, the important benchmarks, so-called, have already been, in the past years have come in. I mean, 2012, imagine it on Google images.
I'll speak about it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so there are a few recent advancements that have happened in AI, which have enabled real practical use of AI in customer service. As Karan mentioned, has been around for a long time. If you go out and read the history, it says that as early as 1960s was where there were papers around how could machines probably learn just like humans and behave like humans and probably replace humans in a lot of tasks that we do every day. But these have been the few recent advancements. The past few years have been really, really very active, and that's why you see a lot of noise around things related to AI. Probably you would have a Facebook Movements app or a Google Photos app on your phone. And if you want to locate something, let's say you want to locate a picture of your car, you just search car and it goes and locates. So obviously, we can't, afford humans doing those tagging of those pictures. So ImageNet was something that it's a competition that happens regularly, wherein the software, the computer is expected to classify a given set of images on what objects does it see in those images. So, until 2012, it was something that wherein computers could do decently well. People were happy about it; they were improving. But in 2012, Google's ImageNet competition, they actually broke the record of human being. They could classify more accurately than a human being, even for pictures which are a little hazy. So that was back in 2012. Then in 2014, Baidu's speech recognition, and again became so accurate that it could perform for various accents as well as with background noise as well. So even for a human being to be able to guess an accent. So for example, as I speak, if I turn the video off and probably we are not able to see it, it would be difficult for you to understand what am I saying. If there is background noise, then also you will have a difficulty in understanding. But Baidu was able to perform even after these challenges, and again was nearly as accurate as human. The biggest thing that in AI that has happened in the recent past has been deep learning. It's a subset of machine learning. It's again a machine learning, but it's in a different way. You would have heard about neural networks, something which has been there around for many years, but for it to have a real practical use in AI, deep learning was brought in, wherein the layers of neural networks, which kind of emulate our brain's neurons, the layers have been deepened. There have been more layers that have been added, and this has been one reason for this has been that we now have much higher computational possibilities. The hardware has progressed a lot. There are processors that can do parallel processing to the tune of 128,000 of calculations simultaneously, and then you could have distributed networking as well. So this was in 2016 that DeepMind, which is again a company that was into AI and was acquired. So they built a program called AlphaGo, which basically plays a game called Go, and it beat a human player for the first time. This happened for the first time, and if I remember well, it beat it throughout the arcade. So it won all the games, and this was much higher, much better than what Deep Blue did. IBM's Deep Blue did with Gary in a chess game. So in a chess game, there are only 64 squares, and the number of possibilities is high, but it's not very high for a computer. It could go for a brute force and try to find out a possible solution. But for Go, it's like millions of in certain steps, there are so many possibilities for the next step of that game, which is probably higher than the number of atoms on the planet Earth. That's how it has been rated, and still it could go ahead and win that game by learning through it. So in the next slide, you can just go. So while thinking about AI, so even before AI, we have been trying to automate a lot of tasks in customer service. We have been trying to automate. We have been trying to simplify, optimize, make efficient use of people. Karan gave a very good example of how the customer service agents were talking to the customers, serving them, but they were able to serve better when systems, automations, and things were put into place. So to be able to identify where can and really these CIOs, operation heads, and people who we speak to are very creative in thinking around aloud and challenging us with problems. Okay, this is the problem that we have. Do you think it can solve? These are some of the patterns that you can always use to identify if you think if this problem can be solved by AI or not. As of now, so traditionally you would think there are few problems that are only doable by human beings. There are a lot of things that we think that okay, this is only possible by a human being. So as an example, if you're solving, if there's a tech support, we have a tech support. If we have tech support that is trying to solve some problems of various customers, not all problems are very standard open book problems. Some can take time. You have to make a guess. You'll have to try and identify patterns. And an expert like Karan, would be able to guess and say, okay, yes, I think this you will not be able to solve it in the right time. Probably reach out to the customer and tell him that it will take a little more time, or probably he'll say, it looks that this is high priority, but just park it for a moment because I think you installed 2 low priority ones earlier than this. So these things usually come with experience and take a lot of time, for somebody to learn and then be able to help the team. Secondly, a human being cannot be efficient every day. You can't be fresh and working perfectly every day. There are bad days, and fortunately, we have computers to our rescue. So things like that. I'll try to give an example. The first one is wherein you have a large number of data points. An example is how much workload does an agent have? What is his past experience? What is your past experience of solving such a ticket? What is the customer profile? Do you feel that customers who have a similar profile but the same problem usually take time or can solve the problem faster? An example is wherein if you're trying to solve a banking problem for a customer, so probably a retail customer would still not mind if his bank transfer or something of the sort takes a little longer. But for a business customer, it might be a problem because he'll have further commitments to adhere to. So such profiling is something that now machines can do better, and we should try and lend that off to them. The second is wherein you have very high volume of work. Typically, if it is performed by human beings, you'll need a lot of hours. You do spend a lot of hours today. Example is a compliance mentions that you have to keep voice log transcripts, the text transcripts of all voice logs for many years with you. Because if there is a compliance, issue raised to the authorities, then you'll have to supply that voice transcript, and somebody can just come and audit those transcripts as well. You can't go and listen to the lot of voice logs in customer service. So again, that AI can help you here in making a text of those voice logs. Why I'm saying AI, why I'm saying machine learning here is because even machines don't do it perfect for the first time, but as as it does the transcript and a human being interacts and says, okay, this is not correct, I think this is the correct transcript of this voice log, the machine learns and then tries to accommodate those learnings. The third is wherein you need decisions which have to be fast, and you have to be fast every time. So for example, if an agent, I try to give an example here, if a customer calls in and an agent receives his call, now the agent has already received the call or a chat message or a social media message. Now the agent needs to respond to that message. His response should be based on how accurate can he guess the sentiment of the customer. One way is that agent goes through all the past interactions and possibly tries to make a guess over the timeline as well. Okay, his past interactions have not been really good, so I believe he would be unhappy. But you might also miss out on a very simple fact that his past unhappiness was 6 months ago. He has not raised any problems for the past 6 months, so probably he's a happy customer now. This is something that there are lots of data points as well, but you need to take a decision very fast. You can let the computer, let the AI do it. So this is again one of the examples. Ansh, can you move to the next slide?
Prince, there is a question. So someone has asked a question. Can you examine the type of chatbots to go for? So it should be whether it should be a domain trained or open ended. Which is a preferred type of a chatbot that should go with?
Sure. So in AI, there are two types of two broad categories of technologies that people are working on. One is the generative one, and which is a generic one, and the other is a rule-based one. A rule-based one is typically a domain-trained bot, so it should be a domain-trained bot. What we believe, even the chatbots that we have deployed are domain-trained. They're rule-based bots, wherein we train them to a certain extent and then let the machine do the rest of the work. Generative bots, though, are easier to deploy, but the results will not be as good as the rule-based ones. Rule-based require a little more effort. They require a little more homework, probably involvement from an AI expert as well. But then they do their work better. You'll not spend sleepless nights worrying that there is a generative bot who could just talk anything. So a very fair example was of a popular airline made, there was a tweet made by a customer for a popular airline, which was partly sarcasm as well, which machines are not good at, but it was, it was something that that was mentioned by a customer, that he lost his baggage and he thanked the airline for losing his baggage. So the bot did not understand it. He felt that there's a thanks in there, and the bot just replied, always pleased to serve you. So it's something that, it became a fun. It was the troll of the day, and you had the entire Twitter bursting into laughter due to that. So to be able to avoid those, it should always be what we believe is a rule-based bot rather than a generative bot.
Right. Prince, in fact, a continuation to Prince, I think even when we are building the chatbots, and rightly said by Prince, over here, while we go ahead and create the chatbots, we have also devised scan responses, which goes. Now, what are the scan responses? I think, Prince, you would agree to this, is where, we write in and we feed in a particular kind of emotion that needs to go to the customer on probably a segment of queries. Is that exactly is entertaining towards the customer's request, I believe.
That's right. Does that answer the question? Yes, I can move on, else we can take it up a little later again.
Okay. So
okay.
Prince, once again. So if you have any more question, you can just type in the chat box. So probably you can answer. Yeah. So there is one more question. How efficient a chatbot can be in the sentiment analysis, or how dependent will it be on the human intervention?
Okay. So I'll start with a little statistic. It is said that chatbots can take away about 30% of your work from the agents, which is again a positive sign, because agents would then be spending time in solving things that they're better at, and not doing redundant things, not doing redundant tasks like answering FAQs or very standard problems. Karan gave a very good example wherein people can just call in to brokers, and the self-service serves the customers. There's no need to talk to them. Nobody needs to talk to an agent now. And specifically, if the customers are busy, a voice call or a chat or anything, they want something which is easy. They don't have to step out of a meeting to do an interaction. So a chatbot can be fairly accurate. Even a chatbot, or even if you want to detect email sentiments, what is the sentiment of the customer in an email, they're fairly accurate. On a worst case, in a typical deployment, it goes down to 60%. It goes as high as 70-80% as well. For very specific domains, it has also said that you're able to do a good 80-90% consistently over all tickets. So taking example of, again, wherein you have very specific area to solve, but the number of problems can be large, but the tickets can be large, the number of customers can be huge, but the area is very clear, wherein brokers is a good example, or you can take any other domain as well. So bots can do a good 70% accuracy in detecting customer sentiment. And if it is together done with a human also tagging once in a while, every time or once in a while, that yes, a human also thinks that this is the right sentiment that has been detected, this can easily go up after a few thousand interactions as well. Karan.
Yeah, I mean, adding to Prince, and thanks, Prince. Ansh, would we also have the name of the person who had asked the question, so I can address?
So Juveria has asked this question.
Okay. Junaira, is it?
Yeah. Juveria.
Okay. So just addressing to the question, let me put one example. Okay. I don't know how much it will fit into the context, but nevertheless, assuming you are running a center, let's say with 100 odd agent, and there is, let's say, 200 odd calls coming in, right? A lot of times, a few of those queries that the customers have probably would be in regards to the product. It would be in regards to where is the product that the person has bought, where has it reached, these kind of questions or queries per se can be addressed from chatbots, because why? By a little bit of grievance API plays a role over here, because each time you go ahead and the API is hit by the query, it gives a response back, and the chatbots comes into play and sends a so-called information back to the customer stating that okay, this is where it is, or this is the FAQs of the product, and so on. So I think the human interface per se, and I strongly believe that, as I said earlier to my discussion, that you can't take the human element out of a complaint. Complaint has to be dealt primarily by human only, because sentiments come in play. However, when it is query based, when it is something which is based with finding out what exactly or where exactly is the product, or what about the product, I think those queries chatbots can be used and can answer primarily those questions, if that makes a little bit of sense over there. Having said so, what I've seen in Growth in my tenure with them is the fact that a lot of customers come back, and that kind of took us to the next level also, which I'm going to discuss now, where we have seen the trend that customers come in with very specific issues. Let's talk about something going missing in a product. For example, you buy, let's say, few products from Growth, out of which there is one A product which goes missing. Now, it's very hard, as much as I want to go ahead and educate the chatbots to go and handle that, but a human interface needs to come in over here, because you need to track where that order went missing. Was it at the level where it was in transit? Did it go missing there? Did it go missing because we did not hand it over itself, or where did it go missing? So few of those complaints are human based, but majority of it, as rightly said by Prince, majority of your queries or requests that a customer raises gets tackled by chats, bots, or from IVR interfaces that we have built in, or from email CAN responses that we have built in. Those are the evolvement that has happened. Yeah, Prince.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Karan. Thanks for keeping with your examples that you always build.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the
Prince, once again. So if you have any more questions, I guess you can just type in the chat box. We'll take those questions at the end of the session. I guess we are just short of time. So.
Sure.
We'll quickly cover this up. So another example is wherein an agent would, if a customer is reaching out to the customer service and he's speaking to an agent, would have some specific questions to be answered so that he can resolve the customer's query or a problem. So an example is if a baggage is lost, while in a flight. So what would the agent ask? So does the baggage contain expensive stuff? Is he a frequent flyer? Was there an layover, and in the layover was the customer able to identify his baggage holders? These things can be there can be many questions that an agent would need to ask, and people who are overseeing operations know how difficult it is to train the agents on specific problems. Okay, if this is the problem, ask these 4 questions and ask in this order only. For a bot, for a computer, it's a little it's tricky, but it's simpler for the customer, because he can answer them in any order. He can answer 2 questions in the same sentence, and the bot would be able to identify that there are 2 contexts mentioned in this sentence. For example, if the bot asks the customer, does the baggage contain expensive stuff? The customer says, yes, it contains expensive stuff, and I am a frequent flyer, so please help me. So the bot will now not ask if you are a frequent flyer or not, and hence the customer services, the customer experience is enhanced. And again, AI can help in escalations. It can also use the profile information of the customer, which usually typically a human would miss, and if he does on a regular basis, it's likeness that he can develop fatigue and miss it out, but our bot will never get fatigued. So another example is, Ansh, can you go to the next slide? Yeah.
I think Prince over here, on a lighter note, I just want to go ahead and mention, I think a lot of the younger crowd who probably would be in this session can also see the fact that there was a lovely movie called Iron Man where Jarvis was helping, Robert Jr. Right? I mean, Jarvis used to do a lot of stuff. I mean, while the Iron Man's was building his equipment, I think Jarvis was the one who actually created the Iron Man.
Yes.
So artificial intelligence came in over there. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm pretty sure the movies which we term as fiction as of now will be part of the real stories in years to come. Again, FAQs is one self-service, and FAQ is one area where AI, specifically chatbots, can help a lot. An example is wherein a customer calls into an ISP, an internet service provider, and says, my Wi-Fi is working super slow. What should I do? So suggested responses would be automatically, I'm sorry about that. Have you tried resetting your router? Can you tell me the download speed that you're getting from this portal? And it can continue while it tries to resolve the problem. The AI is also capturing data which is being received from the customer. If the bot is able to solve the problem, great. If not, that it will already have captured the relevant information and pass it on to the agent. Even 2 or 3 minutes of time saved for the agent and a harrowing experience saved for the customer will go to great miles in ensuring that the customer stays on with you. So a well-known research has said that it reduces the human queries to human agents by 30%, and just really trusted that the agents will now be receiving only high-value questions to them, which they are better equipped to answer. Over to Karan.
Yeah. So I think primarily, while I conclude, just wanted to go ahead and just put a few thoughts. Again, referring back to AI, I think where I believe in AI is where, from a supervisory role, we tend to have a lot of data points where we see a lot of customer coming with the same kind of queries, or same kind of requests. Rather than exhausting your number of people that you're using to go ahead and address that, probably where AI can be brought in, and you can take a lot of loads out of that, where the CREs or the end user who supports the customer gets that breather, where he or she is kind of acknowledging the larger, greater issues that the customer might face, rather than those queries that he or she was taking care of. The question that I also have for the larger audience and also for to ponder is: will AI take customer service job in the future, or is it there to assist? I think I strongly believe that AI will only add as a extension of human interface. Why, as rightly said, with great examples by Prince, that even if a baggage is lost, we tend to get worried, and somewhere or the other, the human interaction is needed to confront and also to comfort a customer. That element can never be ruled off, and that is where I think primarily probably human has an edge. As I said, the emotions are on a much more felt more better by human rather than a machine. But again, as I rightly said, that Jarvis was playing throughout that movie Iron Man. He was able to understand Robert Downey Jr.'s emotion. So I think down the lane we need to go ahead and have a so-called segmentation of where we want to use artificial intelligence and where we want human intervention. Primarily from a Grover's point of view, I think I will never take the human element out of it, because I think empathy cannot be given by artificial intelligence per se. That's for humans to interact. But having said so, does our job get a little easier? Yes, it does. Because you need to, you get a customer portfolio. You exactly know how many times the customer has shopped with us. You exactly know what is the average value that he has picked up the stuff. AI can give you information per se about what kind of cards has he gone and built. Does he order more of let's say chips and cold drinks, or is he more of a household requirement? Is that the reason why he is using Grofers? So that kind of intelligence is what artificial intelligence can give you. That works very well for us because it kind of gives us an edge in order to service the customer better. There's also a theory behind it, which is jobs to be done. That's a great theory because that's exactly what artificial intelligence is getting built currently in collaboration with Ameyo, where we are thinking of creating probably an omnichannel where all the solution can be built into one, and we can go ahead and bring the customers into one interface where each CRE can go ahead and look into the customer's portfolio, whether he has come into emails or be it chat, be it on an inbound call, or have we gone ahead and down an outbound call. So all the touch point, all accumulated into one, has been put, and that's probably the next line of business that we're talking about, where we bring all the intelligence into one single domain and give it to the end user, and then the end user can go ahead and service the customer much better comparatively to what he or she was doing earlier. In short, giving a better customer experience, and that's exactly the bottom line. I think at the end of the day, AI is only an assistance to give the wow customer experience at the end of the day. Prince?
Yeah. So thanks, Karan. With everything that is great, there are always challenges that are associated with it, and being realistic is the only way you can go ahead and still implement it. If you understand the challenges well, if you know where it can fail you, or what are the possible roadblocks that you'll see. With our experience and with our knowledge, with our experts who work on machine learning and AI, we try to put a concise summary of what are the possible challenges that you're certainly going to see. The first is, and the foremost, it's a technical challenge. It's for a machine to learn, it needs a lot of historic data. So if it has to respond to customer service queries automatically, learn automatically what to respond, learn from the agents, learn from people like Karan, there have to be a lot of interactions to go through, and only then it can learn. Otherwise, you'll not have a very good output from AI trained bot. So historic data, a lot of historic data is important. The second is that your process shouldn't change too frequently. It is a very tricky statement. It doesn't mean that you don't optimize or you don't upgrade your processes frequently. It is only that you have to make sure that if there are changes in process, how are they going to impact the AI that has been put into place. So somebody asked it, and it's also a relevant answer here. So a rule-based AI instead of a generative AI quickly adopts to any changes, because you are also telling the bot that there has been a change and please adapt to it. A generative one will start seeing changes over a lot of interactions. So let's say it starts seeing interactions that are happening between customers and agents, and then it starts learning. So it would be several thousands, lakhs of interactions that happen. And only after that, it will learn that there has been a change and it will adapt to that change. So a hybrid one, which is partially rule-based and partially generative one, is something that we recommend. Generative is less, in terms of tech investment, but it may not solve the actual problem. Is something that there are lots of chatbots now available in the market. A lot of them are generative in nature, and hence their demos and initial promises seem very interesting, but later on when you actually put them into practical use, they may seem a bit discouraging. So this is one of the questions that you should certainly ask. The other is, and Karan would probably want to say about it, wherein management has to be taken on board. Karan?
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. I think during the course, I think where the management needs to come in board of introducing this, I think Prince and we discussed it very recently. I think before yesterday when we met up. I think, yes, rightly said, I think the deployment is very important. I think small, even the minutest of things like how a supervisor reads a report or monitors a report, I think intelligence can be built there. Primarily, the reason is when we're talking about all the monitoring tools that are there for an end user, you can build, customize it, get the entire management on board, and showcase the overall pluses that creating a unique intelligence of whether you want to go ahead and monitor probably an AHT for a queue, or probably monitoring overall resolution given on a particular segment. All this can be brought into, and it's a big decision. I think while I was taking those decisions about where I want to go ahead and automate some of the chats or some of the calls, probably the first thing that came to my mind is that can we build an IVR where probably the status of orders information can be given by the IVR itself, which kind of takes a huge load of calls out of the segment. That kind of helped freed up the bandwidth and also helped me save the dollars, right? In short.
Yes. So adding to the monitoring part, I think this is one field in customer service that has been ever evolving. Since I started working for contact center solutions, I've spoken to so many customers, and it's a problem that is still being solved.
Yes.
So do you focus only on the end goals, or do you also measure the KPIs that lead towards them? So it's something that you need to figure out. The same is for any AI that you deploy. You'll also need to monitor both, whether it is trying to helping you achieve the goal, and you'll also have to measure a few KPIs on whether it is going towards the right goal. You'll need people who are expert at AI also to be your partners in deciding those KPIs. They'll need to have a say, and that's for sure. There might be a scenario wherein you would realize that you have not went in the right direction, and you may want to restart again from zero. That's something that is a realistic possibility if specifically if what is being monitored is not done in the right way. Karan, you were saying something.
Yeah, I was just adding. I mean, with a larger audience, I think the most important part, I think, at today's age, which we tend to forget, but probably while AI has come on board, I think what we have started learning is to listen to individual customers. Like every relationship requires listening as well as talking. You have to hear your customers' dreams, goals, or passion or aspiration per se. The opportunity for your customers to talk and be heard is a great thing. And I think second is to exploit your product and services with difference. How can you create a so-called memorable experience for the customer is something that you need to try. That's what even at Grofers we're trying to achieve, and with partnership with Ameyo, that's what we're trying to create. How can we create a memorable experience for the customer each time the customer comes on board? How can we go ahead and do the extra bit for the customer, give him more insight towards what the product is, what are the services, and where are we with the orders? We also want to go ahead and demonstrate the value of what we are offering. The first step is obviously being able to demonstrate what values you live in, willing to find out what your customer actually wants or requires. That's where even artificial intelligence can throw some light. I think the fourth one would be show your passion and creativity in creating a solution. Like, for example, I was talking about the Omnichannel. The Omnichannel was brought in with that solution of creating a creativity tool where it kind of assists, any user, like who is dealing with the customer, with more information and more intel, so that he or she can go ahead and give a better solution to the customer. And at the end, I think you demonstrate your personal commitments in context with customer focus always at 100%. And you can only determine and meet that need, or even remember that for that matter, only if you just go for the shoot and shoot the customer right in the heart and find out and build a relationship which is more lasting. I think, in short, or where I'm going at this is that, all of it, all the amalgamation that we do has to head one way, is what are we trying to achieve? And what we're trying to achieve is very simple. What we're trying to achieve is customer experience. And AI is one helping hand in achieving that customer experience, if that makes sense to the last.
Yeah, thanks, Karan.
Yeah, Prince.
Thanks, Prince. So we have a query regarding from Deepak, who is saying that he wants to some more discussion from the slide 7.
Okay.
Yeah, Deepak.
1 second. Yeah, this is the one. So, Karan, if you can just highlight.
Sure. What exactly is the query, if I may ask? There are 3 points which was basically touch base: boost customer support, operational efficiency, instant customer engagement over multiple channels. Is that the issue, or the question, or the query?
Karan, it's more around how we can improve the ROI using artificial intelligence in customer service.
Okay. Let me put it this way. How can we improve the ROI is, if let's talk about in a usual demographic of a center, what we have is different software scattered across the board, where as you are paying an X vendor to go ahead and monitor, let's say, the chat, and then you're accumulating all the data and putting it somewhere. Then you have another software for probably doing email based. And I'm talking about the current industry that I'm in. I can even dwell on telecom or insurance based later. But you have different channels that you kind of put it all scattered across the domain, and then you gather all the information from multiple sources and you push it, and then you evaluate probably on an Excel sheet or probably on a Google sheet, and then you do the mathematics and then come up. How do you boost this? Because imagine having one tool where everything is stitched into one unit, yeah, and the agent gets everything in one board itself and is much more efficient in going ahead and dealing with customer queries, requests, or complaints, right? What it does is it kind of kills the repeat interaction that keeps on happening, if you understand what I mean. Now, remember, every repeat interaction is costing you money. And if you can save it, it's somewhere or the other is addressing your larger ROI question, because you continue to save those repeat queries which are coming on board from different channels, and you can see it all in one place and address all the queries in one go itself. Hence, he doesn't need to come back again from a different channel to you. Does that kind of answers the question?
Yeah, thanks, Karan. Thank you. So we have another question. So what are the prime factors which will be considered in creating chatbots for seamless customer experience? I guess Prince can take this question.
Okay, so the prime factor, the one foremost factor is deciding on what sort of queries, customer service queries or problems you want the chatbot to solve, and where do you want to start with. The best way to start with is try with the easiest one, which again when an artificial intelligence expert sits with you, he'll be able to help you identify which are the easiest one for an AI to be able to solve, and start with those. That is the primary factor. The other is what all information do you think for all those queries you are actually necessary to be asked. So I'll give you an example wherein you see a lot of chatbots that are there, specifically generative chatbots, which are in abundance in the market. You just Google and you'll see a lot of organizations providing those chatbots. These generative chatbots typically do not have a way to do an API call. So I'll give you an example. So let's say if a chatbot is interacting with a Grofers customer and trying to say, okay, sir, how may I help you? Let's start with the The customer says that I have a problem, with the order that has been delivered, and I think it's not complete. So the chatbot will not ask what's your order ID or something if it is a rule-based chatbot that we build. If it is a generative chatbot, it will have no way to go ahead and look up in Grofers CRM or a third-party system or any other system to identify what order was there and what possibly could be a problem. So this is also one of the key factors that should be kept in mind is integrating the chatbot with a system. It's very necessary, specifically if your CRM is the center point where everything else revolves, the intelligence exists. Then it is necessary that your chatbot speaks to the customer. The other thing is you'll need a lot of training data if the number of queries are large, and hence those must be fed. There's another question: the training set what's the size of the training set for creating a chatbot? It can range from a few thousand to a few lakhs. 1 lakh is something that we feel works really well, and fortunately there are lots of training set size that are of this size that are available either openly or otherwise from your own history itself. You will have a history of customer interactions which can help. Then there's another question that we have is, will the chatbot be efficient to judge the emotion as well of the customer? That's right. The chatbot does judge the sentiment as well as the emotion of the customer. And not just the chatbot. When you put in AI, it's across all channels. It's across social media. It's across email. It's across chat and voice as well. Voice is typically with the latency, but it's there as well. So if the customer's emotion is judged by the chatbot.
Yes.
So Karan, probably if you can throw some highlight on this.
Yes, absolutely. I think I agree on the points that rightly said by Prince. I think fundamentally we need to ask ourselves only one question. I mean, why do you want to have a chatbot? What are you trying to achieve? I think what I was trying to achieve, from my point of view, and I think the question was asked by Deepak at that point of time. I think what I was trying to achieve is optimizing the utilization of CRE. How can I go ahead and have an interaction with the customer real quick so that his anxiety level is, reduced, and he knows the fact that somebody over there has heard his issue, be it a query, be it a request, or be it a complaint, and he has got some kind of, interaction. Before we decide, as rightly said by Prince, before I decide whether I want to channel it to a live CRE who would go ahead and empathize and go ahead and give the resolution, or do I not require the human element, and I can go ahead and visibly go ahead and address the concern through the artificial intelligence by probably finding the information from a grievance API or from my CRM tool. Yeah. So
I would like to add what Karan is trying to emphasize. Wherein you need human element. Even today, the most recent one that I mentioned, that the deep learning part of it, which was done by DeepMind, is something which is trying to emulate how a human brain learns. So humans is something which is obviously not replaceable. You can consider it in a way wherein when at your workplace, whatever work you are doing, right? You want to improve whatever you're doing. You want to do more meaningful work every day. You want to be better than yesterday. When you want to do that, you try to train others to do the same work, so that you can try and take up new initiatives. You can work on new things that can be improved. When you do that, you try and create your replacements, right? And then you grow up. It's not that when you create a replacement, you don't become redundant. You don't become. It's not that the organization will not need you. It's only that you grow up and take new initiatives to further improvement. So social media, SMS is one example. A few years ago, social media was always thought of as a very informal tool and not supposed to be something that people would be doing business on that, doing business interactions on them. And but today, if you speak to we have Karan here, so B2C, I guess social media is something that is really something that is a very serious part in the entire strategy of customer experience. Similarly, you have to make sure that the human element has to be there, and you try to create your replacement with artificial intelligence so that you can do more meaningful work.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We will take just one last question. Thanks, Prince. The question was, any idea about the training set size for creating a chatbot?
I already answered that. So it can be a few thousand for very typical FAQ sort of queries. It can be almost to a few thousand, but typically a few lakhs is something that usually works well. And specifically for generative bots, wherein you need a large training set, it can go to several lakhs, much higher than that. If you do a rule-based bot, this training set can be reduced.
So I think, Prince, this question, I'll just, as a layman, if I have to place it, imagine a vase where, a lot of coins are put in. So depends on how much of intel you put into that, so-called vase. Yeah. And depending on every response that you put in, that vase can go ahead and produce that much of, so-called questions and answer those questions.
Right.
Let me paraphrase it in another way. Imagine yourself having those small little box where you have a lot of question sheets that you put in, yeah, and
Right.
the person who is looking at that small box at the end of the day has those many questions only to answer. He'll pick up one at a time and then answer. So chatbot works on similar grounds. Depends on how many kind of intel you put into that, to that box. And anything that matches those queries, the bots would be able to go ahead and answer. Does that, on a very layman term, I kind of tried to explain it.
Yes, it does answer.
Yeah, Prince, you agree, I hope.
Thank you.
Any other question?
Yeah, thanks, Karan. I guess that will be all. So we don't have any more questions with us. So,
Okay.
thank you, everybody. Hope you had a nice session. And we will be mailing you the ultimate guide to chatbot and customer experience. That's a free ebook that we have for this webinar post the session. Thanks again for joining us today, and we'll see you next time, next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.